I tell you what, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've done this. This is all brand new to me. Do you know? I was coming back from the speedway last night.
Yeah.
Well, tonight, right? And I'm trying to
Yep.
remember the control question. Who were the two
Yeah.
detectives? And I'm like, I couldn't even remember the names of the two of them. Eventually, Tom
Are you asking me or you?
Fassbender.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, I was asking myself, asking myself, Tom Fassbender, Mark Wiegert.
Yep. That's them. The world's
Yeah.
top-notch detectives, right?
Well, so I was thinking about this, and it's been a while. As I say, it's been a while. I've not done a live now for a long time. I was doing some speedway stuff
Yes.
for quite a while, um, and that got kind of taken over. But there hasn't been a great deal going on. So it's like it's difficult. I still, obviously, we all miss the big fella, the dude. It was kind of it was taken me a while to get over that. I'm sure it has quite a few people, but
Yes. Well, he was.
anyway,
He
Mark,
was.
how's it been for you?
He, Richard. For me, well, yeah. It's been good. I'm busy as always. I continue to visit Stephen, and I saw him in February, and actually I'm going back there in a couple of weeks. Um, so I just keep on keeping on, helping out and talking with him and doing what I can. But I mean, the reason why it's a little quieter than normal is that all the factual aspects of the case are already well known. So it's not like there's a lot new to talk about that. So plus we're in the post-conviction realm of having to deal with the courts, and the courts, whether it's the local court or the appeal court, or in this case at the moment the Supreme Court of Wisconsin, they're very slow in what they do. They obviously have a full list of things, but so until we get past whatever the decision in the Supreme Court is going to be, there's no new step short of further, if you need any more information, short of any more newly discovered evidence. We're just currently sitting waiting for the Supreme Court to rule on the appeal of the appeal court's decision. So yeah, and so that's all a bit tedious, but I always say to everyone, if you're a bit bored or a bit sort of over it, remember who's in prison, not us. So Brendan and Stephen are there, unquestionably wrongfully so, and they're the ones who are having to put up with the slowness, not so much ourselves.
Absolutely. If there was one thing, I was kind of doing a retrospective of what I've learned about this case so far. If there was one thing that really caused the problem in this case, would it be fair to say it was actually something beyond Dean and Jerry's control? They had to choose the jury pool.
Well, I think it goes even back before then, Paul, from my point of view. Sorry, if you want to just explain your point, but I think it goes before that.
Well, no, it's just the fact that they never, Stephen never had a fair trial. I think it's well known that the original sort of jury count was in favour of Steve, and then all of a sudden it went pear-shaped.
Yeah,
And you know, if like I've been to Speedway tonight. If you're going to win a race at Speedway, the best place to do it is at the start. You know, don't bother trying to take over because all of our lawyers, and they've been absolutely fantastic. You know, Steve and Laura and Kathleen Zellner, they've been absolutely fantastic. But what they don't have is they don't have that win against their name, do they?
Well, I mean, the issue is not, to me, if you believe in a justice system that should be, by definition, fair, then there's a certain steps in the process that should have been followed. And for me, the most telling issue is that's caused this problem. I mean, there's a lot of factors in the problem, not just one. But what's caused this problem is the fact that Brendan, when he was being interviewed, never at any stage had a lawyer representing him. And because of that, he made under coercion admissions that were patently false. And had he had a lawyer present who was on his side, those statements would have never been made, because a lawyer representing Brendan would say, don't answer that question, don't answer that question, don't answer that question. And then they wouldn't have had a confession, and without a confession they have absolutely zero against Brendan, zero. No physical evidence, no DNA evidence, nothing. And without that, Brendan was used by law enforcement as a tool to get at Stephen. So Brendan's confessions, which is the only thing they have against him, would never have been given, and therefore he would never have been prosecuted. And without his coerced confessions, they would never drag Stephen into it. I mean, the whole thing's a farce, but that, to me, the absence of a lawyer representing Brendan was the key Achilles heel issue. And clearly that wasn't by bad luck, it was by design. You know, when you ever ask people, whether they're law informants, Tom Fassbender, Mark Wiegert, or Ken Kratz, would you have your own, 16-year-old intellectually challenged son be interviewed by law enforcement without a lawyer present? And to me, that's where the problem started then. I mean, arguably it started way back, of course, in the 1985 case and the wrongful conviction of that and other things. But it would have never got to court had it not been for the behaviour of the investigators in not giving Brendan a lawyer to be represented, to represent him. I mean, they gave him his Miranda rights, but Brendan has no idea what that means. So that's just ridiculous. I mean, a proper ethical investigator would say, clearly this young man is not capable of understanding what we're doing here. We better not interview him at all until he has a lawyer present. That would have been the ethical and proper thing to do. And we also know that in most civilized countries in the world, even what they did do would never be allowed as evidence in court for the reasons of the way they did it. But it's the United States of America, and you can make the rules up as you go along.
Yeah, I've put together my old studio. I broke it apart, and I put it back together, and I've put up on this wall just below. I've got a thing here that Stephen Drizzen wrote to me just after the. I think it was just after the Brendan case was sort of finally closed down by the Supreme Court. They wouldn't hear
by the Supreme Court, yes, of the US.
Yeah. And he wrote, I've been in this business long enough to know that the struggle for justice is a long game, not a short game. At that time, Brendan had been in prison for 10 years. So he put 10 years seems like a long time. And for Brendan it is, but many of the wrongful conviction cases we have been involved in have taken decades to unravel. I don't know about you, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody here, but you know, I think when Making a Murderer first came out, the idea was that these guys were going to be out in next to no time. and despite all of the sort of efforts against the various players, it's just not happened, has it? It's quite kind of sad to see how this has sort of panned out. As you said, there should be checks and balances that just haven't.
Well,
haven't materialized.
A justice system that's effective is one that has rules and has players who behave in a proper manner. So the behavior of the detectives, the behavior of the prosecutor, by any measure was improper. And in this case with Stephen, of which Brendan got entwined, many of them, not the ones I just mentioned, but many others, were on the hook for a wrongful conviction lawsuit. So they allowed that self-interest to totally dilute their obligation to act fairly and ethically. But Paul, we can talk about all that in that sense, but the whole America is the most incarcerated nation in the world, roughly 2.3 million people in prison. 5 times the rate of incarceration as in my country, Australia, and yours in Great Britain. There's a reason for that. It's not just that Americans are more criminal than our countries. The whole criminal justice system is underpinned by commercialization of it. It's a business. It costs $40,000 a year to house an American prison on average. And most of those prisons are privately run, even though the infrastructure might be owned by the government. The prisons are privately run. And what do you want when you're a business? You want customers. So you end up with a system that's just full of people who should never be there. Now, am I saying that all those people in prison are innocent? Of course not. But when you've got 2.3 million of them, even if there was only 1% of them that were innocent, that's a lot of people, right? So that's the issue that we're talking. That's 23,000 people in there who shouldn't be. 23,000 lots of $40,000. 23,000 families that are disrupted and not playing a productive role in the US economy or raising families, etc. That's it. But we're using 1%. I think the argument, not by people wiser than me, is that there's about 3% of the US prison population that shouldn't be there. And then there's a whole lot of people who are in there that for their crimes, it's really the most inappropriate way to sentence them. There are other mechanisms to sentence them or to punish them or to do whatever you want to do with them without having to incarcerate them. For relatively minor crimes. I'm not saying that that committing crimes is something you should ignore, but there's a way of dealing with it. And as I said, forget all that blah blah from me. Just look at the basic issue of why is it that America is so incarcerated compared to any other place in the world, including Russia and China, etc. More people in prison in the US than any country in the world.
As you say, it's money. It's a business.
And anyway, and Stephen and Brendan and tens of thousands of others are caught up in a system that is weighted against them. And but they keep referring to themselves as the greatest country in the world. I mean, there's lots to be very proud of with America, but if you think your justice system is the best justice system in the world, you're just living in fairyland. So that's the bottom line.
Absolutely. We've got a gentleman wishing to join us. He's from Belgium.
Oh yes, Jerome.
Any guesses as to whom?
Well,
Jerome.
Yeah.
Hard Jerome.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, mate, how are you?
Hello, Jerome. How you doing?
I'm fine, pretty fine. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you.
And you, Paul?
Well, I'm fine. Jerome, it looks like you're Stevie Wonder with a full drum kit behind you, that ready to play.
With everything right there, I'm all the time ready to go. Now I was listening your conversation, and yeah, it's about money, politics, and it's sad that today in 2025 we are still in the same position. We are still here fighting against injustice. I'm working for now. I'm recently working on the Delphi case, but not only the big one known by the public, Abi and Libby. There is other case, a case who occurred 1 year early, and one other case who occurred 1 year later, and the same kind of situation. And when you see, for example, the interview of Richard Allen by the cops, wow, I was oh my god, I was living a second time the interview of Stephen and Brendan. It was exactly the same, the read technique and exactly the same thing. And it's really sad that it's in on another state. It's in Indiana. It's not in Wisconsin, but they use the same technique again and again. And there is corruption.
We like to think here in Scotland that we've. Yeah, sorry, Jerome. We like to think here in Scotland that we're absolutely impervious to any kind of wrongful conviction, and yet you've got Luke Mitchell, and that case just beggars belief. It's just. I've got a question for the pair of you, though. In terms of Brendan, has making a murderer helped him or hindered him?
You go ahead, Jerome.
Well, I would say it's a 50-50.
Can you see where I'm from? Because if it hadn't have been, I think that if it hadn't have been for making a murderer, there's no way Brad Schimmel would have taken the steps he did to keep Brendan behind bars.
It was because it was highly publicized by Netflix and after all the media. And yeah, sure. So in a way, it helps Stevens and Brendan to be known by a bigger audience, but in the same times, it deserved them in the way that, like you say, if there were no Making a Murderer, Brad Schimmel never will do what he was doing at the time, and same for the judge, and same for Stephen, for his first conviction, for his second conviction. It's, I don't know, I would say it's a 50-50.
From my point of view, I don't really see any disadvantage I don't see any real disadvantage to them because of the documentary. I mean, if there was no documentary, is anyone suggesting that they would be out of prison, and there'd be any less reason to keep them in there from a self-interest point of view?
I think Brendan probably would have.
Well, and so what he would have been out, and what would he be out on the basis of what, Paul? What would be the reason he would be out for?
Yeah, hello everybody in the chat. Hello, Shari.
Paul, did you hear my question?
No.
I said to you, if Brendan, what would be the?
Sorry.
I don't know whether there's some delay in the communication, but anyway, on what basis you said, Paul, that Brendan would be out or possibly would be out? On what basis would that be? What legal basis would that be?
Just the fact that, Judge Duffin decided that that it was horrendous what was done to Brendan, but for me, a murder.
But I mean, do you think they wouldn't have? Do you think they wouldn't have appealed that case anyway? I don't know what's happening, gentlemen, with the coverage, but
I think Paul is freezing. Yeah, from my point of view, Mark, you're right. Making a murderer doesn't deserve Brendan or Stephen. This is not what I was thinking. It's the fact that you have a bigger audience, so for sure you will have truthers, people who want to help, people who want the truth, and other people who don't care about the truth. They just want to have Stephen and Brendan out of jail, and you have the guilters. And
I mean, all that is, Jerome, is a public identification of what exists in normal life anyway. People who are haters and people who are closed-minded, etc. I mean, my view about the documentary is it shone a light on what goes on in American justice system, and it's not unique to Brendan and Stephen.
No.
It's there for tens of thousands of people.
Yeah.
And even without making the documentary, even if Judge Duffin had made the ruling, the fact that there was no very overt public thing in the form of the documentary, they still would have fought the 2 levels of appeal to Judge Duffin's decision, because they had everything on the line here. In terms of if Brendan was released, that would undo Stephen's case, because that was a crime that allegedly happened together. So if Stephen's confession was coerced, which it was,
yes,
then all that it influenced if Brendan's confession was coerced, which it was, all that of Brendan's confession and actions influenced Stephen's case. So there was and still is, of course, a lot at risk for the perpetrators of that injustice. So would it been a little bit more colourful and known had it been, had the documentary, which it was, produced? Sure, but I don't think it would have changed the actions of the perpetrators of the injustice. I think they still would have behaved in a way that was improper.
Yeah, you're right. It happened all the day, all the time, everywhere in the world, and especially in the USA, in America.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a lot of work, because I don't do any more live or video about Stephen and Brendan, because there is nothing to say. And I was talking with Dr. Seligman the other day about that, and he himself was frustrated to don't be able to do a live stream or talking about Stephen and Brendan, because for now there is nothing to say. We can continue to repeat again the story and repeat again the story, but it doesn't help.
No,
And
I mean, there is nothing new, and we all know where it's at in terms of the process. It's also true, unless there's some further newly discovered evidence, which is always possible, that might give reason for discussion and commentary, and some other post-conviction petition from Kathleen Zellner. But for now, that's not the case. So there's not a lot to talk about. We're waiting on the Wisconsin Supreme Court to rule on the appeal from the appeal court itself. And once that's done, if it's in Stephen's favour, well and good. If it's against him, then I suspect, without knowing, that it'll probably go to the federal court for a habeas petition on the basis of Stephen's natural justice rights are being denied by this constant failure to give him at a minimum an evidentiary hearing, which he should be given, let alone any other further relief, which is justified. But simply, we're at a position where there's not a lot of new stuff to talk about, which doesn't mean their cases aren't worthy of talking about, because they're two human beings wrongfully convicted, and I think the discussion shines a light on how poor the American justice system is when it comes to these situations. And as I said to Paul before you came online, that this is in evidence by the level of the incarceration rate in the US is 5 times, for example, Great Britain or Australia. So there's a reason for that. It's not that people are born more criminal in the US. It's the way they operate their system that creates that outrageous incarceration rate.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Well, Mark, can I just carry on with the next part? Hi, nice to be back. Apologies for that. I have no idea what happened there.
What?
But here's the next part of the message I got from Steve Drizzen on the 27th of June 2018. He wrote, after the bit about but many of the wrongful conviction cases we have been involved in have taken decades to unravel. He carries on. I also know that dissents sometimes turn into majority opinions. People in power change. New advocates with new ideas emerge to bring new energy to the struggle. There are millions more people now who now understand why children are more vulnerable to police pressure than adults, and why they are more prone to falsely confessing when pressured by police.
Oh yeah, I mean, if anyone who's interested in the Stephen and Brendan cases, if there's anything that somebody can be happy about, is that it is the fact that it makes us all aware of the importance of how you handle a relationship with the justice system, and in the case of young people, that if any of us who have children, even if they're of adult age, but certainly under 18 and under, is to be very clear about what you should do if asked, can they interview your child? So I think one of the great outcomes of the Stephen and Brendan's case, even though they're the ones suffering and their families, is that it's given an opportunity for those who are interested to be well aware of how to conduct themselves or behave in the face of a similar set of circumstances, and I think that's a good thing. The shining of the light, I think, is a good thing.
Yep. And in the same times,
I mean,
if it's happened to Stephen or Brendan or anybody else who are wrongfully convicted, it could happen to you. So it's really concern, and it's great that people are more concerned than before. And putting the headline on this kind of case is great. this is the way you do it, which is sometimes not fine. But I'm talking about Sean Rake and convicting a murderer. I don't know if you see that, but Ken Kratz sued Sean Rake for convicting a murderer. It's crazy, but
Yeah, I've seen he's something going on there. But I mean, what's he basically? Forgive my ignorance, but what's he basically suing him for?
well, it's not clear. Like
Right?
always with him, it's not clear. I
Is it a
I don't
defamation suit, or what is it?
No, it's not a defamation suit. It's I don't know. I think it's about the content of the documentary itself and what Candice Owens was talking about, and it disagree with Candice Owens, so he sued Sean Rake for that. And well,
But what that he didn't like it? That's not a basis of a
I
lawsuit.
think so. Yeah, I think so.
Is it a contractual thing? Did he have a contractual entitlement that he's suing?
Yeah. He had a contract with Sean Rake and the
To do
production.
what? What was the contract? What was the contract entitling him to?
Well, so that I don't know. We can ask to Sean Wright to who explain the situation to be more clear. But when I see that a documentary,
Well, well, it's funny how it has this degree of awareness, but no one seems to know why he's suing anyone. I mean, you sue people for usually two things: one, a breach of a contract because something you were entitled to was denied you or taken away from you, or a breach of your character, which is in the form of a defamation circumstance. So I'm just trying to. I accept that I said at the beginning that I'm ignorant on what's going on here, other than I'm aware that something's going on. I just don't see on what basis he would, unless he had an economic interest in the production that he hasn't been rewarded for. And I mean, well, and if that were true, and it may not be, so I'm not trying to suggest it is, that would go really to the heart of his integrity, right? Yeah, right.
But it's Ken Kratz. He doesn't. He want to be all the time in the spotlight. So
yeah.
But
anyway, so I guess at some point we'll learn, or perhaps some people in the audience who are listening already know. But and if they want to comment on it, I'll go ahead. But I'm not across the issue. So
no, but if he's allowed to, I invite Sean Wright to explain what is going on with Ken Kratz. But yeah, I can contact him. Yeah, I can do that.
But the truth is, I mean, with due respect to anyone who wants to produce anything, the Convicting a Murderer documentary was just a commercial piece of rubbish. I mean, they didn't even bother to actually understand the facts of the case. They just turned it into a little soap opera on the side. So people who know the cases and know the law and know what went on, I mean, we looked at it and go, really? I mean, it didn't add any knowledge. It actually didn't understand the basis for the cases. And I mean, anyone can get up if you've got enough money and create a documentary and give an opinion piece based on very little, but doesn't make it the truth just because you get, something on a pay-per-view channel. That doesn't make it truthful or factual. It just means that someone's got the money to do it, and they obviously got paid by the distributor for that. It's just an economic activity. So.
Yeah, there is always people who want to make money,
isn't it?
There is always people who want to make money on the shoulder of other people, and it's sad, but it's like this.
Looks like we've lost Jerome there, Paul.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the the problem with documentaries is that we've seen some kind of biased documentaries, and that's something that people can always throw out. It's biased, and without taking into account, the actual facts of the case. It's a problem.
Well, it's pretty much that's true. That's true of a lot of media, Paul. I mean, the truth is really just a secondary element to reporting, and we see it in all sorts of social media. We even unfortunately see it with the current president of the United States, who believes he can say anything, whether it's truthful or not, and knowingly does. So if you don't start in a framework of integrity and honesty, and if you're in the public domain, well then, what can you believe? When I listen to Mr. Trump speak about things, I mean, my brain switches off to anything that he says, whether it's true or not. And therefore it's like the boy who cried wolf, right? Even if he does say something truthful, you're doubting it because you're so used to him telling lies, right? So, and that's permeated the whole social media framework, and makes truth telling optional for many, many people, and also with a lack of an ability of critical thinking to analyze stuff to even know that it's untrue. That adds to it. If people tell lies and people don't analyze what they're hearing to see whether it's a lie, then they believe that then is the truth. So therein lies a basic problem.
I must admit, I do have a problem with watching America from a distance. It does seem to be so polarized. It's like you're either for him or against him, and if you're for him, you're willing to do so much stuff, and if you're against him, it's very worrying, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is.
I could keep you on this call forever to talk about issues about the way American society has evolved, and I have many, many friends in the United States, and who I adore, and I enjoy going there. But for me, the foundation problem, and it's relevant to our discussion about Stephen and Brendan. But one of the big foundation problems is that the United States, notwithstanding being the wealthiest country in the world by far, is a very unfair society when it comes to the way in which it delivers outcomes for its citizens. You expect wealthy countries, and all of us come from relatively wealthy countries. There are minimum expectations that a wealthy country should be able to deliver its citizens, such as affordable healthcare system, a living basic wage, care for the environment, a retirement income system where people get looked after in retirement. All these sorts of things are basic entitlements that a wealthy country should provide its citizens. But in the US, it doesn't do that. And it peddles this story, again, a lie, if you like, this story that they're the greatest country in the world. Well, they're not. No one is the greatest country in the world. Every country has its own pluses and minuses. But they keep telling their citizens that they live in the greatest country in the world. And it's not true when it comes to these foundation expectations that a government of a wealthy country should be able to provide its citizens. And why is this relevant? It's relevant because the lack of an ability to do that actually creates a lot of unrest. A lot of dissent comes from the inequity of society in the USA.
Which is bigger and bigger every day.
Yeah, and the MAGA Republicans, who are all human beings trying to get on with life, trying to do the right thing, have bitten on to this this lie about stuff to their own detriment and to the detriment of their country. I mean, those people, the MAGA Republicans, who many of them are all of our friends, right? They're all good human beings trying to do something, but they get fed this BS about stuff, and as a result of that, you have a lack of critical thinking. You have a lack of an ability for many of them to see that things that Trump say are just patently untrue, and it becomes cult-like. Not for all of them, but for many of them, it becomes like a cult, where you subcontract your independence of thought to some guy in a blue suit and a red tie. I mean, that's not what an educated population should be doing. And if you believe in democracy and all the things that come with it, then you should always be questioning the decisions of your leaders. But throughout all of that, for the wealthiest country in the world to rate so poorly on the deliverables to its citizens is just at the heart of why there is a problem there, and it gets bigger and bigger all the time.
You know, for me, which I'm on the JFK assassination, the democracy in America died on November 22, 1963. It was after that we have a lot of kind of stuff who was completely wrong about the government and the society. And remember, I don't know if you have followed that, but I think so. Charles Manson, the case of Charles Manson and the Tate and LaBianca murder. During the trial, Nixon, who was president at the time, claimed that Manson was guilty during the trial, and Charles Manson had the paper in paper press in his hand, and he showed to the jury Nixon saying, "Hey, look, Richard Nixon say I'm guilty," but it was during the trial. During the trial, the president of the United States say that. It's whoa, come on.
Yeah, I know. It's oh God. As I said, I could take up all your gentlemen's time talking about all those sorts of things. Paul's not there, of course, but Jerome, when I first came on this morning my time, I should say, I said to Paul I had a limited amount of time here today, that I had to go somewhere else shortly. Yeah, but I did want to say to all the people out there who are at the rally and or who were at or who are, or not sure it's are or have been at the rally, that I really admire their commitment to keep going to the rallies and doing what they're doing. I mean, we're all better off for the efforts of those people, and I'm very grateful for everyone who's become involved, both in organising and participating. I will be overseeing Stephen in a couple of weeks from now, and I know he's extremely grateful for everyone who supports him. And whilst I don't have any direct contact with Brendan, I'm sure he's exactly the same, and very pleased to be amongst a group of people who genuinely care about justice and what's right for not only those two gentlemen, but also American society at large.
Well said. And say hi to Stephen for me.
I will for sure. I'm just a bit mindful. I don't know where Paul's gone, but I'm not going to leave you alone on a live.
No, don't worry. I know what it is, you know.
Yeah. So, but I'm still good for a few minutes. It's just that I'll have to probably go within the next 5. So it's funny. It's fun. It's kind of ironic that Paul sets up the chat and he's the one who's not here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think he had some issue with his connection. with his
Yeah,
internet
perhaps.
connection.
Yes. So, was there anything else you wanted to comment upon before I go, Jerome?
Oh, yeah, a lot of things, but well, um, yeah, we are waiting for the next step on for Stephen. What do you think will happen? Because I think it will be the same each time. They will never accept they were wrong. I
Yeah,
think
and
so.
I think that's, if you're a betting man, I think that's more the likely outcome. The basic issue here is that Kathleen Zellner, on behalf of Stephen, has put forward more than enough information to warrant him, by virtue of case law and statute law, to be given at a minimum an evidentiary hearing. She's done that multiple times, in fact. The circuit court denied him, as we knew they would because of who was involved there. The appeal court denied, and it would surprise me if the Supreme Court allowed it. But the next step, again, that you can always keep going back with newly discovered evidence, but after that, the next step is to go to the federal court, who's kind of, if you like, oversees the Constitution. And one of the elements to the Constitution is a right to a fair trial.
Yeah.
And part of a fair trial also includes post-conviction matters. And I imagine Kathleen Zellner will put forward a petition to the federal court saying Stephen's rights are being denied by failing to properly consider and grant him the various relief that they've been seeking, such as a new trial, an evidentiary hearing, which is valid. I mean, forget Stephen. Take Stephen out of this and just any person with all the evidence that they've got to justify that his original conviction is unreliable, which is what we're trying to achieve here, that a statement that his original conviction is unreliable. It's all there. There's nothing. There's nothing. This is the political process at the moment, and hopefully at the federal level, as they did with Brendan, at least for some while. Avery, well, as we've said many times, if Stephen Avery was so guilty, what's the problem in granting him a new trial? So, because if you believe in his guilt, he'll be found guilty a second time. But anyway, that we've been over that before. So, I just, the short answer to your question is, I'll be surprised if the Supreme Court's decision supports Stephen, and then I think the next meaningful step will be the federal court, and who knows, maybe some more newly discovered evidence. So we shall see.
We shall see. Yeah.
I think I could almost see Paul trying to get back in there.
Yeah, he tried to.
I saw the wheel of death circulating up there. So I don't know whether he's ducked off for a little Scotch whiskey or not, but we shall see. Oh, there he is. Well, Paul, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the chat. So, Jerome and I have just solved all the world's problems while you've been gone, and there he goes. Dear me. Well, Jerome, I'll get you to say goodbye to Paul for me, if you don't mind. Yeah, you are trying, Paul. Absolutely.
Yeah, I will tell him. No worry.
Hey, Paul, I've got to go, mate. I'm sorry, but we managed without you. Thanks for inviting us to your house and not being there. So, oh no, he looks frozen. We both do. There we go. I'm trying to say goodbye. All right, gentlemen.
There is a delay, so I don't know.
Yeah. Take care,
Mark.
and
Thank you.
We'll talk again. All the best.
All the best for you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Paul, what's going on? You're freezing. You continue to freezing. Hi, Fan. Hi, Lisa.
Well, I was gonna finish off tonight by talking about the
I can hear you.
our favorite character, the dude.
Richard.
And there was a thumbnail that I put up for tonight's video, and it featured the control
His
question.
T-shirt. Yeah.
I'm sure you know who was wearing the T-shirt. That was
Yes.
Steve Drizzen.
Yeah. In Australia, I think it was.
And I would just like to finish off the last few minutes our own personal tribute to the dude, because I must admit, I'm sure, like everybody else, we really miss the fella. He was such a character. I mean, it was just the banter I used to go through every day with him, on various stuff. But Jerome, give me your impression of, what did you think about the dude?
About Richard. A lot of good things, and I try to remember all the positive that he gave me, that he gave to everybody. He pushed me to start my YouTube channel, telling me, Jerome, go ahead. Don't worry. Do it by yourself, and it will be great. Don't worry about what people think. It's
Yep.
okay. And yeah, it's because of him that I'm here today, and I continue to fight for wrongful people wrongfully convicted, and for other case. And yeah, I miss him every day. I Each time I made a video, I think of him. He was more than a champion. He was Richard Macadam. He was the only one. He was the basis for all of us. I think it was the pillar of the community, and I miss him really. And same for Sharon.
Yeah,
And
I
and
think we
same,
all miss him. It's
yeah, yeah,
do you know what? It's going to be 10 years. 10 years in December the 15th that Making a Murder first came out,
yep.
and I don't think I
Time fly.
Captain Crunch. I don't think that Netflix will ever come up with a documentary series quite as good as Making a Murderer, in the sense that it happened, but in terms of something as bizarre and something that's been so well looked into. 20 episodes, 20-hour-long episodes looking into this case. I don't think there's going to be anything quite like it. Well, I'm sure there will be at one point. For me,
Well,
I'm going to finish off by talking about the last little bit about Steve Drizzen's email to me, and he put Brendan, and I'm going to put Brendan and Steve, needs your support and the support of others now more than ever. Thanks again for your passion, and keep on keeping on. I apologize. I haven't kept keeping on. I have been following it. It's difficult. It's as he put, as Steve Drizzen put, I need a wee break, but will emerge with renewed energy to continue the fight. For me, I don't know about you, Jerome, unless we start getting some sort of conviction integrity I don't. They have to be genuine. That that Wisconsin are gonna properly look at this situation. And for me, this message says, yeah, it could take a while, but they'll get there.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
Yeah, that's
all
true.
the bad actors,
It's fine. Yeah.
they've all cleared off. And it's difficult. It's difficult. It's,
Yeah, I know. It's hard to take. It's
I always remember. Yeah, I spoke with Robert Herman a few times, and the one thing that always sticks with me was when he said to me, "Paul," he says, "Mr. Avery will spend the rest of his life in prison." And
I
that
remember.
troubled me
Yeah.
because I immediately knew, well, several things. One, he's been given insurances. He's been told by other people. Or two, it's just a standard line. But the worst of all is, why are you, as the sheriff, saying stuff like that?
Yeah.
You're there. You're not there to simply put people behind bars. You're
No,
there to
protect the people.
to maintain law and order.
Yeah.
And if somebody's wrongfully convicted, is that not a breach of law and order?
No, I agree. It's not. Yeah, I agree. 100%. Yeah, I know. And I think it's.
I like that comment from Dave Begotka. You were speaking to
We're speaking to a lord of Manitowoc. Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, it's more political than we can think, and it's not just a criminal case. More. It's more than that. It's really more than that, and it's sad because it happened everywhere, all the time, not just in Wisconsin, everywhere in the state, in different states with different law, with different kind of procedure. In it's yeah, and yeah, 10 years from the release, since the release of Making a Murderer, it's wow, time flies.
Mm.
And what about you, Paul?
Mm. Jerome,
Yes.
thank you very much for coming on this evening and accepting the invitation. And I realise it's really late over there
Yeah, but
in Belgium. It must be like 2 or 3.
it is 1 p.m., 1 a.m., 1 a.m. So it's okay.
Yeah, 4 in the morning. 4 in the morning. Okay. However, it's been absolutely awesome having all of you guys join in on this and in the chat. And thank you to Mark and thank you to Jerome. I must admit, I enjoyed the rally 2019 in Manitowoc. It was very good. I did enjoy that. It would be nice if something could come of our efforts. sadly, I feel that it's a case of there has to be some sort of change over there in Wisconsin. There has to be, unfortunately, it's going to be a case of until certain characters are away, they will look at it in a sensible way. I think for me, one of the saddest documentaries I ever saw was the Khalif Browder story, and also the Malcolm X documentary, where there were people that looked at the conviction of the people that supposedly killed Malcolm X.
Yeah.
I think it's just gonna take time.
Yeah, that's
What I would say is it's a thing that you get hooked into. Me personally, I never thought I would ever be doing this sort of stuff. I remember when my daughter first told me about Making a Murderer.
yeah.
I thought, that can't, that simply cannot happen. There cannot be policemen, framing somebody. Well,
Yeah, I
now we
know.
know.
We were naive, really naive at the time. Me too. I didn't think it was real. Sadly, it is. And
Listen,
Stephen and
Joe, I'm
Brendan are
gonna
not the only case.
I'm gonna thank you for one of the brightest moments ever with the dude. Can you remember? Jerome, please tell
Yes.
me, what is the Belgium for a cold ass honky?
I think it's Harry Cousy. Yeah, I remember that he was die laughing. Yeah.
I missed the dude. Oh dear. We had some laughs, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it was a good time.
It's good night from him, and it's good night from me.
And good
It
night for
was.
me.
We'll see you later.
See
Oh,
you.
here comes the jock. Here comes the jock. I don't know if you can see him.
Yes. Oh, it's beautiful.
Time for bed. Time for bed, Dad. Time for bed. We'll see you in the morning. Bye for now.
Take care.
Good night, everyone. Good night. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. We'll catch you soon. Bye for now.